Joining me now to provide a congressional perspective on all of this and the broader issue of crime in our nation as a whole, Congressman Ron Estes, who represents the 4th Congressional District of Kansas. Congressman, thank you so much for joining us again on Washington Watch. Great to see you.
Well, thank you, Jody. It's good to be on again.
All right, this tragic situation, let me first get your thoughts on the shooting that took place yesterday.
Well, it's really a sad story that you see another story where children are killed and injured. There's no place for that kind of violence in our schools or targeting elected officials or anyone from that. And it's sad that there's that kind of anger and hatred that would drive these individuals to go commit those heinous act of crimes.
Yeah, and one of the reasons, Congressman, in all the love and respect in the world that I wanted you on with us today, this whole issue of crime has hit very close to your home. Earlier this summer, an intern there at your office was the victim of senseless violence here in our nation's capital, and he was killed while he walked down the street less than a mile from the White House. And our continued prayers and thoughts to that family. But can you just take a moment to talk about that and to tell us a little bit about that intern?
Yeah, it really is. It is a sad story. I mean, Eric Tarpinian Jackham was a 21-year-old. He was about to be a senior at the University of Massachusetts Amherst. He was serving as an intern in our office, and he was a great young man. And it's a sad state that in our nation's capital, there have been over 100 people killed on the city streets this year. We should want to be proud of our capital. We should want to be able to have a showcase that we could have Americans come visit, or we could have foreign dignitaries come and visit. And Eric's tragic death is one of those things that it should never have happened. And as a parent, I want my children to have the opportunity to take advantage of some of these things, but for him to come and lose his life because of that's a sad state. And we need to make sure that we provide safe streets, that we protect Americans across the country. Of course, Washington, D.C. is a federal district. It's different than the cities in different states. And President Trump's really stepped up in terms of saying the federal government has a responsibility to help maintain law and order in Washington, D.C. and helping make sure that happens.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because it really is. It seems to be making a drastic change in just a short period of time, what the president has been doing here in Washington, D.C. Your thoughts on that? What are you seeing and hearing from others here in Washington?
Yeah, it stands out. I mean, there's a stark difference now, in the first 10 days or so that the enhanced law enforcement support from the National Guard happened. There weren't any murders. Unfortunately, in the last couple of days, there has been another one just because of the crime in the streets. But, that offsets the first 7 months of the year. There were over 100 people killed on the streets in Washington, D.C., which is, worse than other capitals around the world, Bogota and Lima and Madrid and even Chicago. I mean, it's worse, 6 times worse, the rate of murders per 100,000 citizens in New York City. So between the murders rate about 27.5 per 100,000 people, and the carjackings and car thefts about 840 per 100,000 people, we want to make sure that the streets are safer, and the president's been doing a good job. We've seen a marked decrease. I mean, violent crime's gone down 40% in the last couple of weeks, which is important for Americans to feel safe and foreign visitors to feel safe as well.
It really is. So, I guess on the negative side of all this, it all comes to an end in 30 days. So what do you think needs to happen following that 30 days? What do you anticipate happening?
Well, I think part of what we've seen is by having the National Guard available to help patrol the streets. The police department in Washington can actually focus on solving some of the cases that have been a backlog for them. They really have not solved yet Eric's death, and want to make sure that they have the time to do that. And then ultimately, it also belies some of the discussions around defunding the police. I mean, going back several years ago, the Washington, D.C. local government, which had been granted some authority by Congress, but they decided to cut the funding for their police, and it's nowhere near recovered the same trajectory it would have been on based on the growth rate and the inflation rate since that time. So I think that's part of what needs to be addressed as well, is making sure that the adequate funding is provided to help make sure that we have safe streets for our Americans, whether it's in Washington, D.C. or Chicago or Nashville or Minneapolis or anywhere else.
We've only got less than a minute left, but the president's talking about a comprehensive crime bill. What do you think that should look like, kind of from a 30,000-foot perspective?
I think a primary overall goal in looking at that is we want to make sure we protect Americans, protect them whether they're in Washington, D.C., whether they're in Wichita, Kansas, whether they're in New York, or even in California, with some of the riots that have been there in terms of the protest against the illegal immigrations. We want to make sure that Americans are protected. So we want to make sure a crime bill actually focuses on the funding that's being provided from the federal government is utilized to help support those law enforcement, help make sure that they do their role, that they can protect American citizens throughout their city or their state, wherever their area of responsibility is.
Thank you so much, Congressman Ron Estes of Kansas. Always great to see you. We appreciate you coming on.